Hi everyone! So this video is going to be about cutting and scissor skills and why it's so important and why I send home a cutting activity every week. Well, first off, your child's going to be doing a lot of cutting in kindergarten, and so speaking to my 3-year-olds, next year will also be practicing, so this is definitely a skill that takes time. My 4 and 5-year-olds, it's something that you really need to be doing like a couple times a week at least. And let me tell you why. So in our hands, we don't always think of it, but there are muscles, especially right here. And with young children, these muscles are every day they need to be strengthening so that they can do things such as writing, drawing, cutting. And so we don't always think about exercising our hand muscles, but it's super important. So with scissor skills, not only are they exercising their muscles because right here, which is a super critical it's super critical that this gets strong. So it helps for children to increase their amount of time that they can spend doing something. So if you notice your child is only coloring for a little bit, honestly, their hand might be getting tired because those muscles are getting tired. So I always say, like, when they're just about to be done, be like, 1 more minute, kind of like when you're exercising and like you're about to give up and you just give them that one last, minute to get those muscles like really going. It's the same thing with cutting and writing and drawing. Something else about cutting skills, it allows the children, we don't think of it, but our bodies are working together on both sides. So that's why it's also important to do a lot of crossover activities. So when we're dancing and things like that, it's not just for fun, though it is, but it's also being able to cross over the midline, which is something that connects your brain to working with your different sides. And that relates in with the cutting activities. So for example, if your child is cutting a circle, not only do they have to be using the right side or left side of their body while they're cutting, but they're also having to work with the other side of their body to turn the paper, which then goes into proper technique is so important. So when my son was learning, sometimes I would just take like his favorite color marker and I just put like a smiley face at the top of it. And I would say, make sure Mr. Smiley is always facing the ceiling. And that reminded him that his thumb needs to be up. None of this when he's cutting. We don't turn our hand sideways. Our thumb needs to be up. And so again, we always say, where does your thumb go? In the hidey hole. And so it goes in the small hole. And then however many fingers they feel comfortable using. Sometimes it's good to just leave your index finger out to kind of guide, but whatever they feel comfortable with. So when they are cutting, like this week's activity was the truffula. So they can cut lots of different things. You can have in our classroom, we had a big sensory bin where I would add different things, whether it was yarn one week, whether it was leaves from outside, Play-Doh, just anything that, paper. If you have newspaper or magazines, throw some magazines in like a bucket and say, just cut them up. And kids get excited when you change that out. And so that's why I try to do a different cutting activity. Straws are one thing. So again, keeping your thumb up, fingers down, and always just moving the object that you're cutting instead of moving your hand. So this open and shut motion is, again, it's just working out these muscles right here. It's also giving them that eye-hand coordination to keep this still. And it's doing so much that they don't even realize, and it's super, super important. Same thing with cutting paper. When they're cutting paper, again, we start with straight lines, and then we can just say, like, try to make some zigzags, keeping that thumb in the air. And then we ask them to try to turn your paper. And at first, don't have them try to cut out anything. Just have them practice moving the paper with the opposite hand that the scissors are and keeping those scissors still. And then also we try to say, glue your hands to your side. And so that kind of helps them instead of like going like this with their scissors, which some children do. But again, if you could do this a few times a week, it really does so much for your child. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out.